Have you ever felt numb just because of the stressful situation? Were you really numb, or you were fooled by yourself? Hello, my name is Polina, and I don't always trust the messages bodies give to me. When we talk, we trust our ears and verbal communication only in 25 to 30% of cases. Most of the time, we rely on non-verbal communication, body language in other words. As a rule, we no longer trust the words, but the intonations with which these words are presented to us, gestures and little movements that we could perceive but are not always able to realize. So I want to ask you, do you know your friends? Can you understand them well enough? Are you aware of the signals your body gives to other people? And do you know yourself? At the beginning, let me introduce you to the body language. Body language is a combination of varieties of gestures, poses, and intonations of the voice. There are some crucial aspects in studying body language. This is emotions, behavior, movements, and gestures, as I said earlier. But when we're trying to expose lie, what should we pay attention to? Firstly, a pose. Interestingly, but there are no universal poses that liars use. Of course, we can imagine that liar would use closed poses or closed poses trying to protect themselves, but that's not true. In fact, most of the liars use open poses and active gesturing as often as possible, and sometimes too often. So, thus, there is a set of fake movements that starts from the limbs and end on the face. To clear misunderstanding, first the person makes the movement and only then adds the facial expression. Also, body stays straight without any deviation, but when the compliance between thoughts and words became broken, body started to send double signals, and the straight body line, the posture, becomes broken. So the gestures are also one of the most important things to learn. Some indicators that let us suppose that persons are being dishonest is the following. First of all, the asymmetry. Both sides of the face are expressing the same feelings, but one is stronger than another. Second, time characteristics. The expression of emotion that lasts more than 10 seconds are false. About 5 seconds are more likely to be false, because most of the true expressions change much faster than 2 or 3 seconds. Thirdly, the speech and gesture agreement. If the expression of emotion after the words is delayed, then there is a high possibility that it is false. Sincerity involuntarily appears itself as a harmonious unity of the intonation of the voice and the expression. So, in general, you can also determine that a person is being dishonest by their smile. In fact, there are more than 50 types of smiles that differ from each other only by a small detail. As I forgot to tell about the gestures, well, if a child lies, they would close their mouth with their hands, so we can say that this is an obvious signal of lying. Well, you can say that this gesture can also demonstrate fear, but I need to refute this hypothesis. I think you saw this gesture in films, and as we know, there are many expressions that are being cliché in films. So this gesture is one of them. So another signal of lying is nose touching. It can be expressed in a few light touches to the dimple under the nose, or one quick, almost imperceptible touch. So some women are very careful with using this gesture not to smudge the lipstick or damage the makeup. So the eyes often shows our emotions, and often they do it out of our control. For example, the reaction of the pupils. They widen when we look at an object that attracts us, and narrow when we look at an object that repels us. Eye distraction can also be a signal of lying. Well, if a person is afraid that their answer isn't that acceptable, so they would distract their eyes from your interlocutor. So, but some people keep an eye contact as a problem, so they would look everywhere but not in the eyes. So by the eye distraction, we can say that person is being dishonest. And as I said earlier, you should look not only on the eyes, but on the pose and to the intonations. Then the frequent blinking can be a sign of lying. For example, in normal situation, a person blinks 5 to 6 times a minute, which is every 10 to 12 seconds. But when a person is afraid that their lie will be guessed, they blink much more often. So, let's have a look on cultural difference. For example, there are a group of Japanese people and Americans. So the Americans have been shown to express happiness, sadness, and surprise, and they did it more strongly and vividly than Japanese people. So another experiment was that the participants were asked to look at the photos with contradictory emotions, which, for example, sad eyes but a smile on the face. So Japanese paid more attention to the eyes, when the Americans paid more attention to the facial expressions of the mouth. Well, if you want a personal example, then I will tell you that, for example, thinking about it personally, I don't always look up when I'm trying to remember something, and this can be a signal of lying. So, the another interesting fact about me is that I quite often fall silent to think through a strategy of the on the quarrel, or just to change something I said earlier. So don't always think that your interlocutor is being afraid, is just thinking about their speech. Always assume the worst. Well, so you can think that stereotypes don't work with me, but that's not true. Of course they work when I forgot to act naturally, so I can say that even a good liar sometimes get caught on trifles. Well, learning body language is not an easy task. It can be learned simply by reading books or listening to lectures. It always requires practice. So you can practice everywhere. While listening to the other people, or just watching TV, or while waiting for a plane. So you can just follow the gestures of the people and try to interpret them, and that's what their practice will consist of. So I want to show you a concrete example, the interrogation of Karl Donitz on the Nuremberg trials. In this excerpt of the video, you can see Karl Donitz, who was a German soldier and statesman, commander-in-chief of the German Navy. So, as we can see, he wears glasses to read the books or just to look clear. So we can see that he often adjusts them and corrects them. So we can say that this can be a signal of lying, but in my opinion, this is just a signal of his anxiety. Also, we can see that he used an active gesturing and he has vivid emotions. So it can be also the signal that he's not just being dishonest, but he is really anxious about what's going on and to the accusations that are being made against him. So why am I telling you all this? In order for you to learn more and perhaps ask the question, am I one with my body? The main reason, as well as the advice that I can give you, is to keep an eye not only on other people's body, but to keep an eye on your body and what it says. So I want you to make your own discoveries on the hidden messages, and also be aware of the signals your body gives to other people. Thank you.